Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening to all of you lovely and wonderful people. Thank you for joining me on Ask Pastor Tim, episode 7. So excited that you are here with me tonight. Thank you for joining. We are going to spend some time tonight. I hope you have some good questions. I really want to support you with some wisdom as it concerns some of the things that you may be wondering about, some of the questions that you may have about different topics, different things that you've been trying to accomplish, things that you've seen, things you've heard, things that are happening in our world. We all have questions about these things. We're all trying to figure it out right now. Figure out, how do we move forward? Figure out, how do we reconcile the things that we've lost? Trying to figure out how to still stay hopeful in a world that seems to be getting darker and darker. And so we want to be able to supply some answers. We want to be able to supply some truth. I talk a lot about truth because it's necessary to be able to know how to discern what truth is. Man, if we lose our ability to know what truth is, where will we be? Where will we end up? What will happen to our world? What will happen to the sense of sanity in our world? It already looks like it's, like it has gone on vacation. But man, if we really lose all hope, if we lose our ability to grab hold of, to stand on, to be able to recognize and build our lives on truth, we're in some real trouble. Well, I've got some good news for you. I've got some great news for you. You can know what truth is. So I don't care what they say to you. I don't care what they tell you. I don't care how they try and make it look. You can know what truth is. Okay. We serve a God who is, we don't like to deal in absolutes, and we can't as human beings. But our God, the one we serve, the creator of the ends of the earth, the one who created all things known and unknown, seen and unseen, the first, the last, the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end. I like to call him Jehovah Everything, because he is everything we need him to be, exactly in the precise moments that we need him to be. That's the God that I serve, and that's the God of truth. That's the God who reveals all truth, makes it known unto man. The scriptures say that it's God's privilege to conceal a matter. And it also says that it's man's privilege to seek it out, to search out truth, to search out the gems, the jewels, to search out those things that will help us to understand our reason for being here on this planet, what we're to do with our time, how we are to make the most of it, and what we are to leave here in the earth. All right, so that's me on my little bit of a soapbox there for just a moment. Thank you for allowing me to get on it. And again, thank you for being with us here tonight. So a couple of things we're going to do tonight. I'm going to answer a question. I'm going to ask a question, and then we're going to discuss it. We're going to talk about it. And that question is, how can we guarantee what our future will look like in an uncertain world, in an uncertain time, in an uncertain climate like the one we're living in right now? Can we guarantee what our future will look like? We're going to talk about that tonight. And before we'll flow into that, but I want to talk about my new audio book, Redefine Your Original Design. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. I'm going to talk about what inspired me to write this, and I'm going to talk about a couple of the concepts, some of the concepts from the book. You've listened to any of the Ask Pastor Tim episodes. You've heard me mention a lot and talk a lot about some of the stuff that's foundational and fundamental in the book. Some of the things we deal with, like original design. Some of the things we deal with, like really understanding truth, I like to call it, there's a concept that I use in the book called a but. But, B-U-T. Everybody's got a but. It stands for built-in undeniable truth. And I believe that everyone has a built-in undeniable truth. It is my experience. It has been my experience and my testimony that everyone has a built-in undeniable truth. So we'll talk a little bit about that and some of the other concepts that we have talked about in the book. So again, good evening to you, and let's jump in. I'm going to ask at some point. In fact, let's do that now, since and for those of you who haven't seen it's an audio book presentation called Redefine Your Original Design, The Path to Personal Greatness. The link to that is in my bio, and that audio book has 12 chapters where we really go into this concept of original design. So original design, as we define it, is really your uncompromised potential to achieve purpose. Okay? We'll go into it a little deeper, but I want to give you this foundation of what original design is as we discuss it. Your uncompromised potential to achieve purpose. Now, to embrace that concept, you have to be able to embrace this truth as a truth. And that is that everything that exists has a purpose. We've heard it. You've heard people talk about it. There's even been a craze and a fad and a movement about purpose. The Purpose-Driven Life. I love that book. I love when it came out, but it started a movement. And part of the movement became faddish. And a lot of people, just kind of were doing it and moving with it while it was popular, and then they just kind of, faded away with it and with the concepts. There were some people that book changed their lives. Because of the concept of purpose, and because they embraced the idea, like I did over 30 years ago, embraced the idea that my life actually had purpose. There was actually a legitimate, specific reason that I was born, that I came into the earth. There was actually something that I came here not just to do, but to bring. I want you to think about that for a moment. There was something that you not only came here to do, but there's something that you came to bring. You are carrying something that no one else carries. I want you to think about that for a second. I want you to let it sit, let it settle on you. You are carrying something that no one else has. And you may say, well, Pastor Tim, what is that? What is that I'm carrying, and how do I find out what that is? Listen. And how do you know that that's true? How can I know that that's true? Let's take something that we all know, okay? And that's that every individual is unique. Okay? Even twins, they're unique. Okay? How do you know that? Hold up your hand like this. Turn it around and look at it. You are looking at proof of your uniqueness. Your fingerprint is one of a kind. No one has or has ever had or will ever have your fingerprint. Think about it. Sit on it and let it settle on you. Because that's your proof right there. Now, there are other things, but that's your tangible proof that you can take, look at, reason with, wrestle with if you want. Study it, search it out. In fact, I invite you to search it out. I invite you to look into your uniqueness. Begin to search about fingerprints. Don't just take my word for it. Seek it out. Search out truth. Remember, it's God's privilege to hide it, to conceal it. But it's your privilege, it's to your glory to search it out. And what that means is when you find it, it becomes a wellspring of life to you. It becomes life. It becomes something that gives you life, gives you meaning. It gives you longevity because you begin to experience something that I always like to talk about Jesus experiencing. I believe it was what empowered him to do what he did. Is he had an understanding about his purpose. And his purpose gave him life. No one could take his life. He was there to lay it down. That was a part of his purpose, was to lay his life down. And so he understood that it could not be taken. It could only be given. What if you embrace that concept about your own self, about your own life? What if you embrace the concept that it cannot be taken, it can only be given? Yeah, I know you'll think of all the things and all the reasons why that's not true. All of the things that have happened, the people that have had their lives taken from them, the people that left the earth too soon. I know you'll think about all of that. And those are legitimate thoughts. That's a legitimate line of thinking. But what you must realize is that there is a design on everyone's life. And that design says otherwise. That design says that you are uniquely made, wonderfully fashioned, not just for the presence of God, but for your purpose and your place and your position in the earth. You have been made for something. You've been fitted for something. And so why am I saying these things? Because this is the foundation of redefine your original design. This is the why behind it. And so you've got to embrace this concept that everything has purpose. Every living thing has purpose. In fact, you could not be here. You would not be here if there had not been a reason for you to be here. If there had not been a purpose for you to live, and to live in this age, in this time that you're living in right now. So that's the foundational concept. Okay? Everything has purpose. And so if you understand everything has purpose, then you have to embrace the fact that everything has a design. And we have the Bible and the story of the Bible to support this thinking that God had a design for man. As we read, as we study, as we ponder, as we meditate on God's word, we come to know and to have the opportunity to embrace God's design for our lives. Now, we see so many things in our world right now that's contrary to what God has said, to what God has done, to God's design. Okay? There's a reason for that too. And that reason has to do with the departure from the original design. The departure from the order and structure. The departure from, the tree that we were hewn from. Because man departed from that, then he became subject to dysfunction. In other words, he became subject to operate opposite or different from or different than his original design. The scriptures say that man was born into sin and shaped in iniquity. Well, you can look at your world today. And if you're not afraid to really sit in where we are right now, even in the scary parts of it, because it can be scary, because we don't know what's going to happen or what comes next. But if you allow yourself to sit in that and allow God to speak to you, if you read and study the Bible and you believe the Bible and you understand how to pursue truth and how to sit in who you really are, who I really am, who am I? First and foremost, you are a spiritual being. Okay? We're human beings. Now, before you ever had a body to live in, you existed in the spirit. When God made man, he made man a spirit being first. Then he shaped a body for man and blew the breath of life into that body. And then man became a living, breathing, functioning creature. Nephesh is the Hebrew word, and it literally means living, breathing, functioning creature. It's where we get our soul. The scriptures say that man became a living soul. Okay? Our soul represents our awareness of who we are, our awareness of our surroundings, our awareness of our bodies, our awareness of the world, our awareness, our minds, our ability to think, our wills, our ability to choose to make decisions, and our emotions, our ability to feel. Okay? This is our awareness. This is our soulish realm. Okay? And when man moved away from, departed from the structure, the order, and the design of God, our soulish realm was subjected to error, to futility, to dysfunction, to chaos. Our soulish realm was subjected to that. And because we weren't meant to be led by our flesh, we were designed to be led by our spirit. So when we became subject to being led by our flesh, we were then operating in chaos and in dysfunction. And so in every generation, that dysfunction has not only carried over into every generation and been born into every generation, it has been perpetuated in every generation. When you think about it from that perspective, you can begin to gain an understanding of why we are where we are today. Why the world seems to be getting darker. It's because the farther you move away from the light, guess what? It gets darker and darker. Okay? And so original design has to do with reconnecting with the source, with the uncompromised potential. Okay? Before man decided to made a choice that moved him away from the presence of God, the structure and order and design of God, man was in a state of perfection. And in that state, everything was right. Okay? His potential was absolutely working according to the way it was supposed to work. Well, how do we know that? God gave Adam, he put it to the test. He gave Adam a job. First job he gave him was to name the animals. And the scriptures say that Adam observed them and then he named them. And it says that whatever he called them, that's what they were. Okay? So the potential to name the animals was there, and God spoke to the potential and told Adam to name the animals. Adam acted on that potential and named the animals, and the animals became whatever he named them. So there was the potential, what do you call it? The potential that's standing. I don't know why I can't think of that word tonight. The potential before it happens. You got the kinetic potential, and I can't think of what the other one is. But anyway, the potential before something happens, and then it happens, that movement, that process is the process where God takes something from nothing to something. That process is called the completion or the fulfilling of the potential that God is giving. In other words, he created man to do something, and then he put man to the test to see if he would do it. And man did. He did exactly what God told him to do because he was created in God's design and after God's image. And so the instructions was not something that man could not do. It was something that he absolutely was built to do, was made to do, was designed to do. And so he did it. So that's how we know that there was an uncompromised, it had not been compromised yet, potential. Okay? That's the potential to complete the assignment that you've been given in the earth. That's the potential to fulfill the purpose that you've been sent in the earth. It's when you reconnect with that uncompromised potential. That, my friends, is your original design. And so there are some very key and significant things within us that help us to reconnect with that. We talk about that in Redefine Your Original Design. So I want to take a moment right now to see how many people who are watching right now have actually audited, had purchased, and listened to Redefine Your Original Design. Can you just put it in the chat and say, I have it, or I've listened to it? Can you do that for me, please? I want to see how many of you are there. And then I would love if one or more of you who have read it, who have audited it, would share, if you like. You don't have to, of course, but I would love it if you would share some of your insight, what you may have gotten from this particular audiobook. That would be lovely, lovely, lovely. And you can just put it in the chat. You can unmute yourself. You can come on camera with me. I would love, love, love if you came on camera with me. That would be beautiful and wonderful, so we could see your beautiful face and thank you for purchasing it and thank you for sharing your testimony. So do we have anybody? I see you, Christina, that you have it. Anybody else on here who has listened to? All right. Also, Jan, when I get working. Okay, I got you. All right. Worship Lover has listened to it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Awesome. Okay. And anyone want to come on camera with me and share what they learned from it? You don't have to, just asking. I would love it if you did. Okay. If you do, just drop it in the chat there and I'll see it, or someone who assisted me will see it and they'll let me know. Okay, so while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and talk about a couple of other things. Christina said it has wrecked my mind and my heart. I would love it, Christina, if you had something to share on that, but if you don't, that's fine. So I'm going to talk about this one other concept as it concerns original design, because this is kind of where you would want to, if someone asked me, how do I find my original design? This is where I would begin to point you to. So we have this chapter in the audiobook called Resources of Your Potential. Okay. So we talked about original design being the uncompromised potential to achieve purpose. And then we go into the resources of your potential. What are the resources that we have to be able to tap into that uncompromised potential? Because we got to have resources. We got to have the tools. We got to have something that we can use. There has to be a way. There has to be a path that leads us back to the original design. So these resources of your potential, there are three of them, and I'll share those with you just briefly here. Number one is a tag. We call it a tag. It is your talent, your abilities, and your gifts. Everyone has talent, ability, and or gifts. You either have one or all. Everyone has something. Even the people who do not think they do. I know people, I've heard them say, I don't have any talent, I don't have any gifts, there's nothing special about me. I've heard people say that. And the only reason they say that is because nobody ever affirmed to them that there is something special about them, that there is a gift, there is a talent. It may not look like someone else's, Because sometimes we can be overshadowed by the big gifts and the big talent and the big abilities, that stand out. But the ones that are more subtle, they're just as important. Sometimes more. Okay, they're more vital because they're needed. And people can very easily overlook them, which is what happens. And so your talent, abilities, and your gifts speak to your uniqueness. Okay? God designed you in such a way, I like to say it this way, he tagged you before he sent you here. You came here with a tag, and that tag is designed to help steer you towards the purpose that you were created for, the thing you came here, what you were aimed here at. Okay? What you're aimed at in the earth. All right? So that's number one. Number two is called the but. I talked about it already. Your built-in undeniable truth. Everyone has something in them, something about them that has the ability to influence and or impact other people. Everyone's got it. Okay, who you are, you got it. There's something there. And if you don't know what that is, then that's the journey you should be on to discover what that is. Okay? It's undeniable. I'll give you a brief little testimony for myself, right? So I've always been in the place of counsel. Even when I was young, I was in the place of counsel with my friends. They would put me in the place of counsel. They would ask me things like, why are you asking me? Right? I would be the go-between some of my girlfriends and my guy friends. They were trying to hook up and stuff. Sometimes they would use me as the go-between, or talk to me about relationships. My friends would do that. My own mother put me in the place of counsel without even, and obviously they didn't know that that's what they were doing. My mother would talk to me about things that she should have been talking to my dad about, that she couldn't talk to him about, but she would talk to me about them. And you shouldn't be talking to your kids about your relationship. But this was divine, because what it did was it woke up, okay? It woke up a part of me that God had placed on the inside of me for the world, for people, okay? And so she began to tap into that. At every level of my life, I've experienced being in the place of counsel. And so after years of that happening, one day I came to the realization that that was a part of my makeup. That was a built-in truth that I carried. And I couldn't deny it because it always happened at every level of my life. When I was in college, same thing. Every level of my life, on every job that I've ever worked, people put me in the place of counsel. So that is a built-in, undeniable truth for me. Okay? So I want you to think about that in terms of yourself and begin to think about, what is it about me? What do I always show up with in every situation, in every circumstances, on every platform, wherever I go? What do I always show up with? When you discover what that is, you've discovered your but. Now, some people have more. I have more than one but. Okay, so you can have more than one but you have at least one. Okay, all right, so that's number two. Number three is your signature word bank. Okay, your signature word bank, when you are born, it is empty. It's empty because you have to begin to fill it. Let's go back for a moment to the example I use about Adam in the garden when God gave him the command to name the animals. He had no bank to go from. He had nothing to pull from. He had no reference of words that, when a horse came before him, okay, let me see. Maybe that's it. No, he had nothing to pull on. Okay, so he created with his words. He created. And as he created, what he created then became a part of his signature word bank. Okay? Everyone has a signature word bank. The problem is that most people's banks are full of stuff that does not support who they really are. Most people's banks are full of words that don't support who they really are. That's how someone can say to themselves or say to someone else, there's nothing really special about me. I don't really have any gifts. I don't really have any talent. That's someone who does not have the right kind of concepts and words and thoughts in their signature word bank. Oh man, you got to get the book, right? Got to get the book. I would love to talk to you more about that, but I want you to redefine your original design. And so that's where I would start for anyone who said, how do I reconnect with my original design? Okay. So when I say to you, you can know what truth is. Okay. I'm talking to you from experience. I'm not talking to you from a concept that I read in a book. I'm not talking to you from something that I pulled out of the air. I'm talking to you from experience, number one, and I'm talking to you from divine revelation, number two. Okay. Many of you have heard me say this. I've become like the poster child for discovering your purpose and destiny in the world, in the earth, and that's because that's a part of my makeup. That's part of my purpose. Now, let me connect something for you. So I said to you about my butt, right? Being one of my butts being counsel, being in the place of counsel. One day I was reading after God really began to show that to me. I was reading the scripture, and it's one of my favorite scriptures, right? I'd read it hundreds of times before, but this time it stopped me in my tracks and spoke to me, and it literally grabbed me. Okay. This is from Isaiah 50, chapter 50, verse 4. It says this: the Lord has given me the tongue of the learned, so that I might know how to speak a word in season to those who are weary. I had read that hundreds of times, but after God began to speak to me about my butt, I recognized, my God, that's why. That's why. That's always been inside of me. That's why people have always been put me in a place of counsel, because the Lord has given me the tongue of the learned so that I know how to speak a word in season to those who are weary. I know how to speak encouraging words. When I can't do anything else, I know how to speak a word, not just an encouraging word that, oh, it's going to be all right, baby. Hold on. Hang in there. No, I know how to speak an encouraging word that's based upon who you are and that will speak to the resources of your potential and cause you to see yourself differently. That's my gift. See, that's one of my gifts. So I'm telling you, man, this stuff will help you to understand who you are and what you are bringing to the table. I told you, you're carrying something, okay, that no one else is carrying, and you need to discover what that is. All right. Do we have anyone yet who wants to share their experience? If not, that's all right. I've got something for you right here. All right. Any questions anyone has about anything that I've shared so far? Drop it in the chat, man. If you have questions about the butt, about your tag, about the word signature bank, if you have a testimony about it, that works too. Okay. So these concepts are real. I gave them a name that, that's relative to my uniqueness and my unique way of seeing things. Okay. And so that's why I've given them the names that I've given them. But everyone has them. I don't care what you call it. You have it. All right. Now, I want to talk about this question now. I think it's a good time to segue into this question. All right. So this question, somebody type it in the chat for me. This question is, how can we guarantee what our future will look like in an uncertain climate? All right, type that. Somebody type that. One of the people assisting me, please type that in the chat. How can we guarantee what our future will look like in an uncertain climate. All right, I see your question right there, Nikki. How do we effectively encourage people who don't know what they are called to, what they're called to specifically, and who don't feel they have talent? How do we help them to find it? Great question, Nikki. And here's what I would say to that. Someone has to be looking. There has to be something on the inside of someone that's looking and searching for truth. Now, if you ask me, I will say everyone is looking and searching for truth, right? Whether they know it or not. Okay? Whether they realize it or not. Okay? However, there are those who have turned that off. Okay? They turned that search off. We call that giving up. We call that losing hope. Okay? That's someone who's turned off the search. Now, I'm saying that in a particular way because I want to answer your question in this way. All right? You said, how do you help someone, or how do you encourage someone who don't think that they have anything to offer? Okay? Or don't know what they're called to specifically. Okay? They have to be searching, number one. And if they've turned off the search, you have to help them turn it back on. Okay? You can't find if you're not searching. All right? So that's the first tier. They got to be searching. And if they're not searching, it's because they turned it off for whatever that reason is. And so you have to help them to discover their search and turn it back on. Okay? Now, and we can talk about ways to do that, but someone has to be, because you know the old saying, right? You can't help someone who, doesn't really want to be helped. And it really is true. Again, my philosophy is that everyone wants to be helped, even if they don't realize it. Okay? So for those people who don't realize it, my aim is to help them turn that search back on. Just to give you a for instance about that, because you may say, what does that look like? How do you help somebody turn their search back on? Listen, every human being, okay, has certain things in common. Okay? Number one, everyone wants to be loved and accepted. Everyone. I don't care who they are. Okay? That's a truth that we know. We take the truth that we know and begin to work from there to discover or wake up the search for other truths. Okay? But we start with the one that we know. That one's always a great place to start because everyone wants to be loved and accepted. Now, someone either believes that they are loved and accepted, or they believe that they're not loved and accepted. Okay? So if they believe that they're not, we kind of know where the work needs to be. We've got to help them to discover and understand that they are loved and accepted. Why and how and what's the proof? Well, we as a Christian, we automatically know what we're going to do, right? We're going to begin to introduce them to the love of God, to the love of Christ. What Christ did for them that proved and demonstrated, okay, a great love. Okay, so we start right there. As a Christian, that's where we're going to start. For someone who's not a Christian, they may start in this place where, you got to love yourself and, nobody's going to love you. You have to, they may go there, which, okay, I get it. But, if you want some meat, man, you got to go to something that's been demonstrated, something that's been proven, a love that is unlike any human love. A love that can't disappoint you. A love that you can't earn, nor can you dis-earn it. Okay? So we always start with what we know to help to turn on the search for someone who's not searching. Now, when you have someone who is searching, all you got to do is feed them breadcrumbs. Okay? Because if they're searching, they're hungry, right? So you give them a little something and they, boy, okay, and then you give them a little more. So you give them breadcrumbs. What are the breadcrumbs? The breadcrumbs becomes information or knowledge or wisdom that they don't currently have about themselves. Okay? For instance, something like your fingerprint, something as simple as that. Okay? They may know that or have heard that before, but when you begin to say to them, relate their fingerprint to their uniqueness, now you are turning on, you're helping to turn on the search, because no one can deny that. Can't deny your own fingerprint. So to answer your question, I answered it in a few ways, but we've got to help them to turn on their search. Because it's when you're searching that you're able to find. I hope that makes sense to you. All right, what else do we got? Okay, so everybody's putting in, how can we guarantee what our future will look like in an uncertain climate? Oh, my. So, if you are to be effective, relevant in the future, it will only be because you showed up in the future with what the future needed or wanted. I'm going to say that again. If we are to be effective and relevant in the future, whether that's 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, in the future, if we're to be relevant and effective, it will only be because we showed up in the future with what the future needed and or wanted. Okay? Now, how do you know what the future needs and or wants? Right? Okay. So, this is why it's vital to understand what you are carrying. Number one. And number two, that you are carrying something that the world needs. You see how that connects? See, if you don't understand that you're carrying something that the world needs, then you won't know where to go for your answer to that question. You have to begin to grapple with the concept that you are carrying something that the world needs. There's a solution on the inside of you for this crazy time that we're in, and for the craziness that will come that we haven't seen yet. There's a solution. You're carrying a solution. So you need to find out what that solution is. How do you do that? You have to connect with your original design. Because if God created you with a purpose, and he sent you here so that you would be alive at this moment in time, whatever the problems, whatever the world's troubles, whatever the struggles that exist right now, whatever it is that you're carrying on the inside is adequate and equipped to not just deal with it, but to have a solution for it, for something that's going on right now. You see how all of that connects back to original design and your need to discover what you're carrying? Okay, so you discover what you're carrying, or you begin to get a sense of what that is. Now, what you have to do now is begin to look at what the world needs. Okay? What is missing? Because whatever you're carrying is going to be something that is missing right now in some way, shape, form, or fashion. When you discover what that is, now you begin to look to the future. Okay? And see what the future is saying to you in your right now about that thing that you're carrying. I heard one prophetic voice that I trust and have followed for over 25 years. I heard them say it this way. The future belongs to those, not those who predict it, but those who create it. The future, you're carrying around on the inside of you. So if you're going to guarantee what your future will look like, it will be because you have developed, you have helped designed, and you have aimed what you are carrying at the appropriate problem. So when you get to the future, you show up with and as a solution to the problem. That's how you guarantee what your future will look like. Now, you may not be able to guarantee what someone else's future will look like, but yours you can. How? By developing the solution that you are carrying right now. Questions. I know somebody's got questions about that. Come on with your questions. Ask me. You can ask me now or ask me later. But that's what you have to do, man. You've got to develop the solution that you're carrying. There are 4 pillars. The Lord began to give this to me. Let's see how we're doing. Okay, we're doing good. There are 4 pillars. The Lord began to give this to me, 20 years ago. More than 20 years ago. Probably closer to 30 years ago. God's economy for the 21st century. We were still in the 20th century. Right? He began to give me these 4 things that were a model. They showed up as a model in my spirit and in my mind as God's economy, how God wanted to, or how God was going to move and strategically move his kingdom in the earth. Okay. So God's economy in 21st century had 4 things. I called them 4 pillars. The first pillar is personal growth and development. You have to discover who you are, what you have to offer, and where you fit. Okay. That's paramount. Okay. That's number 1. Number 2 is business development. Once you have discovered what you have, what your unique thing is, your unique whatever that thing is you're carrying, then it becomes your responsibility to now develop that thing, that gift, that talent, whatever it is, into a high quality product or service. It becomes your responsibility. You've got to package what you have so that you can give it to someone else. Now, whether that means commercially or not, doesn't matter. You just got to put it in a form where you can pass it on or give it to or get it to the people who need it. Okay, so that's business development. Number 3 was creative marketing. You have to be creative in how you get what you need. It becomes your responsibility to get what you have to offer to those who need it and want it. That becomes your responsibility. Okay, and the 4th pillar was investment resources. Who are you going to invest your time, talent, and treasure into? In other words, you've got this model, you've walked through it, you've developed, you've discovered your unique gift, you've developed it into a high quality product or service, you creatively got it to those who need it and want it. Now, who are you going to pour into to help them to do the same thing? That was God's economy for the 21st century. So the personal growth and development, it all starts there with you knowing and understanding what it is you're carrying and developing that what you're carrying into a high quality product or service. That's what I meant by developing. When you find out what that is, develop that thing, do what you need to do to make that thing, put it in a form so it will be attractive to those who need it. You can have something that someone needs, but if it's in a package or not in a package that's attractive, they won't want it. Even though they need it, they may not want it. No, that becomes our responsibility, is to package what we have so that it becomes and it is attractive to those who need it and want it. All right. All right. What else we got? We're coming up to the top of the hour. I've given you all that I have to give you tonight. Well, not all that I have to give you, but all that I have time to give you tonight. If you have not gotten Redefine Your Original Design, the link is in my bio. Go get it, man. And there's some real bonuses that we added to to the package, that if you get it and for a limited time, there's some things that we're adding to that will help you to, number one, be able to reconnect with your original design. We have a whole system that we call the Frame University, and it begins with Frame Your Splendid World. Frame Your Splendid World is a coaching. It's an 8-week coaching. Well, if you get original design, redefine your original design, you get a complimentary session. In fact, you get the first you get the first session complimentary of the Frame Your Splendid World coaching. Okay, that's number one. Number two, for even more limited time, you can actually get the entire resilience building course, which we call Frame Your Splendid Future. This has to do with how you develop, the thinking, the mindset that will support who you are. When you discover who you are, you've got to support that with the right kinds of thoughts, certainly with the right people, with the right knowledge, with the right intake of knowledge. And so you've got, this has to do with that signature word bank we talked about earlier. Beginning to fill the signature word bank with what it needs so that you can successfully live in your original design. And so we call that Frame Your Splendid Future. It's actually a 13-week course. You get that thing for a limited time, when you purchase Redefine Your Original Design. So we've got some unique bonuses there. Go there, man, and take advantage of that. Hit me up with any questions that you have. Hit me up with concepts. Listen, I want to know what you want to talk about. I can talk about this forever and have a different way of approaching it every time I come on here, because this is relevant now, and it's what we need to help us to reconcile what's happening right now and be able to move out of this place with and in the best versions of who we are, and actually be moving into a place where we're growing and developing and being productive, productive citizens of the kingdom of God, productive citizens in the earth. If you're a productive citizen of the kingdom of God, you are a productive citizen in the earth. How we can help move and make things better. How we can bring our solutions to the problems that exist. Okay? So, any other questions? Did I miss any questions? Y'all help me if I missed any questions. Oh, thank you, my brother Joel. Love you, man. Appreciate you as well. All right. Okay, so we are at 8:55. I got 5 minutes to spare. Any questions? Any comments? See if there's anything I left out there. All right. Good. We are here every other Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Join us next time. We're going to have an exciting topic in the next 2 weeks. We may have a co-host. We probably will have another co-host with us. We won't always do co-hosts, but we do. When we do, it's an awesome time when we do. And so join us then, man. Again, if you have a particular topic that you would like for us to address, let me know. Okay, let me know. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about any of it. We want to be able to bring truth that matters to every conversation. Okay, to every conversation. All right, everyone. Blessings to you. I love you, each of you, with the love of God, and I believe in every one of you. Remember, you are carrying something that the world needs right now. Discover it, embrace it, develop it, and give it to the world. All right? Good night, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Good night.